Hey there, welcome back. So I'm starting with these two 8 by 10 canvases that I taped together, and I'll flip it over. I have blue, I have a little bit of white, and our big messy chip brush. So I'm going to get the brush a little wet in my water cup, wring it out, kind of tap it down on your plate. Now we're just basically going to load up the brush with blue and paint both canvases on a diagonal like this. You can add a little bit more water to your paint to make it go a little bit further, like this. So once you're done painting both canvases blue, you're going to take the same brush, don't wash it, just leave all that blue on there, and dip it in a little bit of white. And now we're going to make beautiful, gentle S-curves that move through both canvases. So I'm going to start on this one and drag a very smooth S-curve all the way across like this, back and forth, like this. Do that throughout. Leave some gaps. A little bit more white. Okay, that's about it for now, and we're going to let it dry. Okay, so while the background is drying, we're going to practice sketching koi fish. And we're going to get out our piece of paper and either a pencil or a Sharpie, whatever you have. You'll probably want to do it with a pencil so you can make corrections. So I'm going to start with the general direction of our koi fish. So basically, it's going to be an arc that's going to be roughly like that, with that being the nose pointing in like that, and that being where the tail starts to turn. From here, I'm going to draw a circle that much closer to this end. And from the sides of your circle, you're going to connect into this gentle U shape like that. Now from here on in, we're again extending lines from the sides of the circles, but we're kind of roughly following the line of our arc right there like that. And the tail is basically kind of a flowy shape like that. So from over here, you can have the pretty little fins like that. So go ahead and practice sketching the koi fish in a couple of different sizes and directions. Another shape that we can practice is the lily pad shape, which is essentially a circle with a little triangle, like a slice of pizza cut out of it. So basically something like that. Painting partial circles. So basically, if this is the corner of the canvas, your circle is going to come out this way and this way, supposing that it keeps going around, and then you're going to cut out a little triangular shape out of that. Use your pencil to lightly sketch in that line before you actually put it down in white. So I'm just going to go for it. I'm going to use my red brush, flat, put some white on it, one side, front side, and back side like this. Now I'm going to make the first arc for my first koi fish, which is going to be over here. And there's my first little arc. Okay, so I made both of my little arcs here, and now I'm going to start with my little circles. And I'll just go ahead and roughly put in a circle this big. You can always make it bigger, and it's fairly close to this point here. And on this end, I'm going to put a circle at the top here, also close to the end of that point, like that. And now I'll use the edge of my brush, my red brush, to extend those little lines to make the face like this. That's one. And now on this side. That's two. Those are my faces. And now I will extend a line from the side of my circles that kind of follow the overall arc and kind of comes in this way like that. And the same on this side. Comes in like that. And we'll do the same thing on the other side. Okay, so I've sketched in the overall shapes of my fish and I will fill them in with white. You don't have to worry about the fins and the tail yet. We can do that part later. Right now we just have these two large paisley shapes and we're going to fill them in white with our lime green brush. Fill it up with the white and just fill it in. All right, so I filled in my koi fish with white, and now I'm going to use my yellow brush, which is the medium round. And I'm going to kind of fine tune the shape of the face a little bit on this one. This one's a little too round, and I want to make that nose a tiny bit pointier. So basically, I'm going to just extend a tiny bit of line here. Bring it into a little more of a point, not too sharp though, like that. And also you see that the tail end is starting to get a little too skinny, so we will expand that a little bit by basically just thickening it up a little bit like that. Same on this side. Just get it a little bit wider at the bottom here. Like that. Okay, now for the lily pads. Let's block them in with white as well, and this is entirely up to you where you place them. I did have one that was in the center, so if you want to go ahead and start doing that, you can. I'm just going to kind of create a shape like that. And then maybe have my little pizza slice cut out of one side and maybe have another little pizza slice cut out from the other side. You could even have one pizza slice that's cut out right along that center line there. Do that one here too. So basically create a fun lily pad shape with some slices cut out of it in the center. Corners like this, you can do that as well. Here's one. Okay, so I placed my lily pads, and as you can see, there's some bigger ones and some smaller ones. You guys can have fun with it. And I will fill them in with white as well. You can use your red brush or your yellow brush. Okay, I filled in my koi fish and my lily pads in white. The lily pads only need one coat, doesn't have to be perfect. The koi fish will probably need a couple of coats. And here's a tip for filling in large areas of white or any color. Don't use the point of the brush when you fill in, use the side of the brush like this instead of like that, because it actually covers more surface area and goes down like a trowel, and if you use the point you're actually scraping off more paint. So if you have an area that's just not filling in solid, that means it's still wet, let it dry and then come back in when it's dry with another coat of white. And we're going to let it all dry before we continue. So for this next part, we will be using our yellow brush, which is our medium round, and a little bit of blue and white that will mix together to make, like a light, medium light blue, something like that. Maybe a little bit lighter. And as I always do with round brushes, I roll my brush in the paint with basically laying it down on a side like this and rolling it in the paint to sharpen that point. And so what I'll be doing next is outlining our two koi fish with light blue. And I'm basically going to outline the outer edge like this. And this is your opportunity to change the shape of the fish if you need to. If you need to widen out the little tail end here or smooth out a curve, this is your opportunity to do that. And we're just going to lay in some of this outline. So a little bit of water on your brush, wring it out, and use that water to go over the edge where the blue meets the white, just to soften the transition so that it's a nice soft blend from white to blue, like that. And do that for the other fish as well. Okay, so we're still using our yellow brush, and we are going to get it a little wet, make the point, and basically we are going to make the little flippers and tail. So we're back to white and a little bit of blue, little bit of water actually mixed in here, and I'm going to roll my brush to make a point. Definitely add a little bit of water to your mix. It will help. I think because the flippers are so thin, they're transparent, so we want to water it down a little bit. And so I'm going to start with the tail. And the tail is basically, we're going to start on the point of the brush, and we're going to pull it from inside this tail right here. Push hard on the brush and lift the brush so you end on a point. And we will also put in some tiny little flippers that are towards the back of our koi fish. Light blue color, same brush, very little paint here, and I'm just going to put little smaller ones that are just kind of pushing out from the lower half of the fish like that. So if you need to make some corrections, if the fins didn't come out as well as you like, you can use your red brush and dip it in some glue and come around and just either adjust the overall shape or even put in a few little indentations into the fins, a few little angles like this to give them a little bit more separation. So there's always room for corrections in here. You can alter the shapes of the angles in the lily pads, in the little fins and the tail, just by going back in with the blue. And that completes our lesson for this week. We will continue next week with part 2. We will do all the layers of green on the lily pads and the spots on the koi fish. See you next time.